So thanks for joining again, everybody, for our bi-weekly meeting, KW Commercial. Special guest today, we got Danny Held with Kingsbarn. I think you guys were our guest sometime last year.
Okay.
Yeah, at some point, and it's gonna be cool to see the evolution, right? How everything changed since last year at some point, and then also you're gonna share with us, Danny, like what you guys are up to and your programs and what you're how you work with with brokers, etc. And we also have Lee Black over here, a commercial veteran, and he has great success with you guys, and he's going to share his insight too, just for us to kind of learn from the experience and understand kind of the more additional tools that are available for us and for our clients. So take it from here, Danny, and then you and Lee can kind of double up on what you want to present.
Wonderful. Thank you. My name is Danny Held, Vice President of Kingsbarn in Los Angeles. I've been in real estate since maybe 2010. I was generally, I came on as an investor originally, just buying multifamily, then for my own personal portfolio, and then got into net lease, where I was at Sands Investment Group for about just under 5 or 6 years. And then I was selling a deal to Kingsbarn, and that's how I met Kingsbarn, and I saw the hole that Kingsbarn fulfilled through DSTs, and I got much more involved, and now I represent Los Angeles for Kingsbarn. So I'm going to attempt to share my screen here. This one, share. Do you guys see my slide?
Yeah.
Perfect. So I'll just go ahead and get started. Oh, here we go. Kingsbarn Real Estate Capital. We are the only DST in the space that has the ability to pay brokers a full 3% fee. So that is very powerful. We've gone through all the litigious legal work to ensure that we can pay brokers that 3% fee. Let's see about Kingsbarn. This is a little overview here. And we'll go a little bit about Kingsbarn, then we'll get into the DSTs, the benefits to investors, the compensation and compliance, and then we'll run through a case study that actually we did with another KW commercial office down in Long Beach. So about Kingsbarn Real Estate Capital, we are a private real estate firm offering these structured investments for families, trusts, high net worth, and accredited investors. Within Kingsbarn we've done over $2 billion of acquisitions. We've have about 100 years of combined real estate experience through all of our team members. And we are a Delaware statutory trust. So we primarily serve 1031 exchange buyers. Kingsbarn, again, is the only sponsor offering real estate brokers the opportunity to receive a commission throughout an investor's investment. So what we do, how a DST works, is we identify the property, we acquire it, we then secure the financing. We get CMBS loan financing, which is non-recourse. So it does not show up on your investor's balance sheet. We originate and organize all documentation, provide the tax opinion, and we have our closing team to qualify the intermediaries as well. And we oversee the issuance and the monthly operational reports and disbursements to our investors, which they receive on a monthly basis, generally by the 15th of each month. So a little performance from us over the past 5 years. We've done 51 fractional programs, 112 property acquisitions in 26 different states. Total value is just over $1 billion, and that's just over 6.25% annual rate of return, and that's just in the last 5 years. This is our executive team. Jeff Pori, who's been a broker down in the San Diego market for for much longer than me. I actually don't quite know. I think he's been down there for a little over 30 or 40 years. And then Phil Mater, we just brought him over from BlackRock. He heads up our development team. Ray Jones, general counsel, and some of the other VPs as well. Here's the development team headed up by Phil Mater. What? There we go. So about DSTs, the DST industry, as you can see, is on a very aggressive rise, outpacing some annual years, as you can see. So it looks like we did have a general. Oh, here we go. We did have a general $1 to $2 billion rise, and then 2021 is when it really doubled there. So benefits of DSTs for your clients. So one, the certainty of the close. Because we already own the real estate, you already have all due diligence documents, everything that you would need to make a decision on a real estate purchase, you will have prior to signing anything. It's that really simplifies the underwriting process for you and your investors. So this is management free. Your investors have no landlord responsibilities whatsoever. It is professionally managed by us, and it requires not even bookwork. So we send an annual tax packet to your accountant to prepare them for their taxing for the asset as well. All the tax benefits of sole owned ownership, no personal liability, no loan guarantees. Benefits of DSTs: to expand your market, get paid in weeks, not months, maximize your time to get more listings and more options for your clients. So, there's, as you know, the net lease space is extremely compressed right now. This is just a really good option for your clients to have in their back pocket, knowing that, you could close within, I believe, 7 days of identifying our asset. So this is the basis for the compensation. Kingsbarn went through hundreds of thousands of dollars to create or utilize the California Interstate Program. So essentially, if your investor is a resident in California and you are a California licensed real estate agent, then we have the ability to pay you the 3% fee associated with your client's investment with Kingsbarn. But they do have to be a California resident for you to be able to receive that fee. This is a case study that we did down in Long Beach with another KW commercial team. This was Heidi. She sold out of a pretty large asset in Long Beach, and she decided to diversify through multiple different assets, as you can see, to mitigate her risk, but also increase her annual cash flow pretty significantly. And this is all absolute landlord responsibility free. So she sold, it looked like a $14 million deal, and then 1031 into all 6 of these deals, which you can do, or you could trade into one sole deal if you feel more passionately about that one deal as well. So this is the 8 days from call to close. So again, you could present it to the broker, client learns available DSTs, call the client, and then boom, deal close can be within the next day. Here's some available deals that we currently have. So we buy deals across all asset classes. We just purchased an Amazon distribution center up in Oregon. We just purchased Anaheim Stadium Crossing, which is a large office building directly next to Angel Stadium. So we do retail, industrial, office, and here's a retail listing that we have, which is up in Orville. very good market. Grocery anchored, it's 100% leased to some some investment grade credit tenants, Harbor Freight, Smart Final, Ross, built in 1990, was redeveloped in 2019. Very attractive deal. Some of the tenants. And then this is the numbers. So again, prior to your investor coming on board, they'll see all the number breakdowns, which is really comforting for them as well. So this is our equity offering. We get, again, we get generally try to be around a 50% LTV for all of our loans. This one specifically came in at a 49.61 at an interest rate of 3.6. Year cash flow year one comes out to just around 6%. And that cash flow increases as tenants rent increases as well. So that is year one projection. This is another one, Trinity Park, which is out in South Carolina. Sprouts, so anchors, grocery anchored, very attractive. Just in Greenville County. A lot of service tenants, Pacific Dental Service, Berkshire Hathaway. So all tenants are triple net with 91% being leased to national tenants, which is, as you know, brings that certainty to your investors. Here are the tenants. And here are the numbers. Here's the debt. So yep, again, right around a 50% LTV. Again, at a 6% return to your investors. That's year one. Frequently asked questions. How am I protected once I introduce my client to Kingsbarn? So we execute a fee agreement similar to any other real estate transaction with you and with you and our team as well. So that protects you. How much is my fee bringing a client to Kingsbarn? So it's the 3% fee on equity raised. So however that looks. Our DSTs only for investors with 1031. You can invest cash. You most definitely can. We do have other offerings, other value add offerings that accept cash as well. Unfortunately, for our other value adds, you cannot 1031 exchange into them, but there are very, very attractive deals locally through California that are looking at 10 to 15% returns as a value add deal that I'd love to discuss on a different time as well. What do I do with my high value investors who prefer sole ownership? I think that brings us to the MDO. So we do have another program. It's called MDO, Managed Direct Ownership. It's essentially similar to a DST, except they're the only investor. So we buy the asset, we get a loan on it. Jeff Pori, our CEO, personally guarantees that loan. We package it in an LLC, and then if you have an investor that says, "Hey, I need to place $12 million," boom, we have this ready to go in a package. We can just transfer the LLC over to him, and that satisfies his 1031 exchange requirements. So we did one in Texas, Allen, Texas. That was a $23 million deal. The lady saw it. She wanted it from day one of saying she wants it to executing was, I believe, is under 12 days. So, and that, that was a large deal. We already had it under ownership. We just had to transfer the LLC to her. And then this is our True Yield Fund. So our True Yield Fund is also for cash investors. This is a way for you to get paid as well. So this is a 9 3/4% preferred return, 2% commission to brokers, and 1% ongoing annually. So we use this capital essentially to acquire new assets. We have a pool of capital from the True Yield Fund. We also have a large credit line from US Bank, but we do require a lot of cash to buy these assets, and this is one way that we raise capital for that. Again, this is distribution track. Yep. So Kingsbarn funds have 100% successful distribution track for 7 years. Invested capital deployed into active acquisition and development real estate projects. predictable dividends paid monthly, and there's a 2-year minimum commitment for the true yield fund. Text 1031 DST to 313131 for access to investment summary, KB DST presentation, or benefits of KB. Also, feel free to text me, email me. I'm extremely responsive on all platforms as well. Oh, and we also have a custom broker link. So what a lot of brokers have been doing is doing an email marketing campaign through their database with our link. You can put your logo there. And what that does, it educates your clients, but also whenever they click on it, it associates them with your name. So if they do move forward with us at some point, they'll already be in the system under your name as they'll be logged in, and that comes from your blast. Here we go. And that was the presentation. I'll kind of leave this open to questions, and you can feel free to ask them in the chat section, or you can just go ahead and unmute yourself as well.
Hey, Dan, this is David here. What is the end game for DST? Let's say somebody does a 1031 into a DST, and then 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, and if they want to get out, what happens? What is the end game?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we sell our properties every 5 to 7 years. We will never go longer than 7 years. We generally won't sell prior to 5 years. So when we sell at the 5 to 7 year mark, your investor is now entering into another 1031 exchange. At that time, they can make the choice of, hey, I loved Kingsbarn. I want to see what other offerings they have. Or they could say, Kingsbarn was a terrible experience. They could go to a competitor, or they could trade into a fee simple deal, right? So they could buy a condo for their kids or another multifamily. Once we sell the property, they still have the unlimited 1031 exchange options that they do today. Now, if they wanted their capital prior to us selling at the 5 year mark, they can do so 2 ways that are not facilitated by Kingsbarn. They can sell their position on the secondary market. There will be fees associated that, again, not facilitated by us, and they can take a loan out on their position as well. Again, that most likely will be costly. I always suggest against that. And if I suggest, if you are considering a DST, plan to be along for the ride for the entire 5 to 7 years. If you think you will need your cash more quickly, it might not be the best investment for your clients.
And for 1031s that you have to use all cash and equal or more value of the property, how would you weigh that on the property? I mean, let's say if you have a property that was sold for 10 million with 5 million cash, and then you have to buy something more than 10 million or more, and then use all the cash. How would you structure that?
Yeah, so that is a specific reason why we get a 50% loan to value ratio on all of our assets. Because let's use that scenario. You have a client that sold a property for $10 million. They have 5 million of equity, 5 million of debt requirement. If they trade into us, we fulfill both of those requirements, the equity and the debt. So when they trade into one of our assets, we associate that $5 million of debt to them within their investment. So it will fully fulfill their debt requirement.
So if your debt requirement is 50%, let's say somebody has less than that in cash, what happens then?
So if you're saying if their debt requirement is less than 50%?
Let's say their equity is only 30%. But
okay, so they have greater debt requirement. So if they have a greater debt requirement, you can essentially buy down your debt through another party. I believe their company is Net Lease Advisors, and what they do is it's called a zero cash flow. Basically, they don't share that info with us. It's proprietary to them. We send clients to them, and you can discuss it directly with them. But essentially, what it is, you buy your debt down, you put your cash in with them for an unknown for whatever years you guys decide, and it's bought down on a very aggressive percentage. I believe I had a client that had to buy down $300,000 of debt, and he had to place $15,000 with them. That $15,000 is in that home, and then when we sell our asset, he gets that $15,000 back, but also receives that debt back. So he doesn't receive appreciation or interest on that $15,000. He essentially gets to buy a home for that debt for a certain amount of time. But again, that's through a third party.
Is that a partnership with a third party? Is that what it is, or?
It's a referral. Yeah, they like us, we like them. We refer all of our scenarios like this to them. They're a very large firm, Net Lease Advisors. I'll definitely share a link. They've been around since the 80s.
Yeah.
And it's these zero cash flow deals. Essentially, you're buying down debt in large institutional deals. Most of them are, I believe, Amazon distribution centers. So it's still backed by a real estate investment.
I see.
Well, Danny, great presentation, by the way. Thank you. We'd love to hear from Lee. Recent experience and kind of just to share insight as a broker that, did this or doing this.
Sure. Yeah, we started, Veronica and I started about 2 years ago investigating DSTs. There's also deferred sales trust, which is not the same thing, but they also refer to that as a DST, but that has holes in it. We did a lot of investigation that didn't work. We also met with securities brokers that basically do DSTs, and that's all they do. The problem is because it's a security, they can't pay any commissions. You're explicitly, absolutely no way, shape, or form, they won't do it. So we bounced around, talked to a few, got a lot of education, bumped into Jeff Pori, the CEO of Kingsbarn, had a lot of conversations with him. And then we were doing two things. We were also looking for acquisition targets like Amazon warehouses or big office buildings, something for them to purchase as an acquisition broker to be paid a commission. That was one angle that we're still looking for the team. But then also, Veronica and I have a family client from Hidden Hills where their family owned an asset up in Atascadero. So we hired a local KW team up there to be our partner. We sold it and about a month and a half ago, and one of the siblings wanted to do part of their money into a DST. They had also gone on and looked for conventional 1031. They couldn't find anything they really liked. There was just too much competition. They also didn't want to take on all the risk of being the owner. So introduced them to Kingsbarn. Danny and I and Larry and Veronica had lunch, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago. And it was a presentation that had already happened on Zoom, but we had lunch, we talked about it. Larry was sold. He picked a couple of the assets. One of them, the money went too quick and there was nowhere to place money. They found one, they signed the paperwork. It closed like 2 days later. And the wire from Kingsbarn came into KW like 2 days later. So it was like soup to nuts. It was less than 8 days. And our client is happy. They're getting their return. There was no going out, writing offers, going through all the brain damage, trying to find something and compete with other buyers. It was just competing to get space within that investment for his chunk of money before it was all allocated out and have to start over looking at new projects. So the point of the story is we've known Kingsbarn for about 2 years, including up to the CEO. Danny was super helpful. The client was really comfortable. It was a great alternative to a conventional 1031. And we've got other clients that are now starting to think about the same thing as an alternative because it fulfills all those objectives. And there is the cash flow and there is the protection and there's no hassle of worrying about the leasing or worrying about the roof. That's all done by Kingsbarn. And at the same time, also looking for larger acquisition targets for them to put into their portfolio, which then the DSTs would take off. So Veronica and I were just very impressed, and it's been a great 2-year relationship. And Danny, as the face person and getting it done for our client a couple of weeks ago was super smooth, super easy. So just keep it in your back pocket of a great alternative where they're the only ones that we could find that actually paid a commission. So the other ones just said flat out, we can't do it. And so it was a win-win for everybody. So we were very happy, and so was the client.
Awesome. Thank you.
I got more questions. Is there a minimum or
We generally have a $250,000 minimum. But
is that
you know, our first-
20,000 of cash
sorry?
or the value?
Yep. So every time we speak, we always speak in equity. So yeah, we do have a $250,000 minimum, but you know, our number one goal at Kingsbarn is obviously to raise equity. But number two is to make sure that investors, you know, don't have to pay tax. So, you know, if you have a client that's in a pinch and let's say he's selling a property for $1 million and he found a up leg for, you know, 900,000, he has 100,000 he needs to place, you know, we'll find a home for it. We'll accept it. Our goal again is to nail it out of the park because a lot of these guys are multi-transactional, and I'm sure they'd consider us for a future deal down the line as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
Michael, you have a question? Oh, 30 minutes yourself.
Recording.
No, I just joined. I'm a little late to the party.
Never too late, Michael.
Good thing we recorded it.
There we go.
Well,
Michael, if you need
you
any
know-
insight, I'll help you out since you're right across the hallway.
I appreciate it, Lee. You're the man.
I always say, you know, you guys are the quarterback. So use me at your disposal. You know, I'm happy to meet for lunch, grab coffee, have a phone call, whether it be when they're already in their trade or if you're trying to get a listing and they say, oh, you know, what would I trade into? You know, utilize me to be another option for them to get the listing. You know, again, I'm happy to play by your rules, and you know, utilize me whenever you see fit.
Good stuff, Danny. Held with Kingsbarn. Lee, thanks for setting this up. Adding value. You guys are awesome. You're welcome to stay on the call, Danny, if you would like. And let's open up, guys, to whatever
Thanks,
you
Danny.
have.
You got it. Thanks, guys. I'm gonna jump, but if there's anything else you guys need, I'll make sure that we circulate my contact information.
Yeah, and when I'm gonna share the recordings also, I'm going to add your info.
Wonderful.
Well, on the to the group. Good job, Danny. Thank you. So let's just open mic, guys. If you want to share whatever you have of markets, needs, other topics.
Yo, Lee, you're the man. I just want to say that. That's it.
Michael, I'm trying to catch you.
Yeah, right, man.
No,
And
we're
Veronica,
Veronica.
yo, Veronica, you're amazing. Thank you for being so helpful. I so appreciate it. Both of
You
you guys.